subtle winds. It makes for the perfect night to write. Ugh. Kindly watch where you're going. You almost damaged my waistcoat. Excuse me, but lower your voice, please. This is not the hour nor the place to be raising it. Eat you? I beg your pardon? Oh, come now. Surely you do not deem me as that barbaric. Do they know that I'm not human? Their comment suggests, however, perhaps they were just that terrified that anyone they came across they deemed as unfriendly. Who are they? Cannot quite make out a face, but their figure looks to be some of those border guards near the pier. Dweller, I can tell that you were not only running from someone, but something, or by the sounds of the commotion, many things. You've indeed captured my attention. Well, because I'm curious as to who you've unnerved at this hour of the night into travelling to the cooler part of the Albion territory of the woods. Please, do not think that low of me, and cease your tears. I have no interest in killing, hurting, or turning you over to whoever is after you. By the looks of your posture and hand positioning, you are much worse for wear right now. I would hate for the wrong creature to get your scent. An example? Take the goblin folk, or those blood-sucking vampires. Well, that is rather insulting. You think that just because I bear knowledge of these things, that I am one myself? Does decorum and respect mean absolutely nothing to you? I think it would be best if I hide my identity as a creature of these woods for now, as I would not wish to scare them any further than they already are. Please, save your feeble apologies. I do not care for them. Shh. Stay down and stay silent. I know you're quite frightened, but they will pass. But only if you stay quiet. Listen, I do not wish to get involved in this pointless game of cat and mouse, but your constant shuffling is going to get us both caught. Do you want that? I did not think so. So hush and stay still. Wait here. I will check. Okay. They're gone. It is safe to move again. Ready, Dweller? Tears? I do not need to understand your pain to understand your motive for crying. Quite frankly, I find it rather annoying. Well, no. I may not understand the pain that you are feeling right now, nor the emotions that are obviously overwhelming you. However, I still do not care for your futile excuses. Enough talking about me and my emotions. We should focus more on you. Would you mind if I had a slight look at it? Your injury, I mean. Yes, I am trained in healing, Dweller. Do not worry. I know what I am doing. You are not the first person I have worked on, nor will you be the last. Okay, I am going to move your hand on the count of 3. Just take a peek, okay? If it makes you more comfortable, count with me. Together? Together then. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. No, you can place it back. I know exactly what this is. You, my lucky Dweller, escaped the ever so sharp nails of the Northern Orc Border Guards. Yes, they tend to keep them long. My guess is a defense mechanism. Either way, perhaps we should head somewhere a little safer and, well, cleaner. I'm not just going to leave you here to catch a cold. And quite possibly a terribly bad infection. So, you can come back to my home. Here, take my hand, and you can lean on me as we walk. That's it. Okay, there. Now come, let us make haste. I think we've allowed the blanket of the night to engulf us in its darkness enough for one evening. Hello, boy. Oh, come now. No jumping. Oh, come on, we talked about this. Oh, this is Sylvester. He is very well trained, and I can assure you... No. Do not be frightened. He is merely smelling you. He wants to ensure that you are not an intruder. By his smell, you seem okay. You will also have to excuse my mess. I do not usually get visitors, so I do not... Where are you going? No, please do not just pick things up that you do not understand. Stand? Wait. You know my work? Wow. No, I'm just surprised. I did not know that people still read my books. I took over from an old friend of mine. He was the one who taught me my healing. Speaking of which, do take a seat in that chair over there, and I shall be with you momentarily. Okay, so I have brought over some bandages to wrap the wound with, and a potion that I traded with a fellow healer of the East at the border in return for some of my toadstools. Well, the potion should stop the sting, and decrease the blood flow ever so slightly in order for the wound to close. Yes, I guess it does sound a little different. Much different than the methods I am used to. I mentioned my friend that I took over novel writing from, correct? He used some of the best techniques known around, but I guess he had to when he was a healer for a king. You heard me correctly. They were indeed a great healer. The stories he told. It was what caused the spark for his novels. Speaking of which, do you have a particular favourite? Oh, sorry. I know that hurts. Oh. You like star-crossed lovers. May I ask why? So you liked The Forbidden Lovers, but wanted to know the ending as your copy of the book had it torn out? Well, if you are willing, I can relay the events of his days, as it was based on a true story after all. How do I know? Well, he told me himself. Well, his notebooks did. How about this? I will continue working on you as I talk, if that is okay with you, Dweller. Allow me to finish the novel you were so desperate to hear the ending to. I must warn you, however, the ending is not as pleasant as you were most likely wishing. King Terence, known as one of the greatest kings to have lived. He ruled with a hand so fair that it was rare to find an enemy of such a man. The king was accepting of all, no matter their species or stature. His rule was one of the most remembered. However, there was a secret, if you will, that none of the kingdom's people knew of. behind his strength, behind his resilience, was weakness. He was frail, afraid, and ever so ill. That ill, in fact, that his viziers hired my companion, who lived on the outskirts of the kingdom as a local healer, to work just for the king. On arrival, my companion was not sure on what he was to expect, as not a lot was explained in the scroll. However, as the two came face to face with one another, the world seemed to stop just for a moment. They seemed to look at each other in such fascination, as if the world around them that had been in black and white had suddenly been filled with such beautiful colours. From then on, my companion doted on the king's every need and ensured that his fever stayed down for as long as he could. The king believed that he had felt stronger than he had ever felt before, and with his newfound strength, he gained some newfound trust. Trust in him. The king entrusted him with his own secrets, his own worries for the kingdom, and in return, he became a shoulder to lean on for my companion. For months, they would simply just watch the days go by, stargazing at night, even waltzing in the rain. It was truly a marvel to behold how two souls that had lived such different lives could just be so, what is the word? Infatuated with one another. However, their happiness was not to last. Unfortunately, fate was going to get in their way. On a cloudy morning of May, the king's fever reached peaks that mountains only dreamt of getting to. He shuddered in his chambers, and my companion panicked, trying to do everything in his powers to bring his fever down again, using potions, cold water. Not even the herbs from the outskirts could bring his rising temperature down. They were running out of ideas when one of the newer viziers suggested bringing in an outside healer, to which there was little discussion, as the king needed any help that he could get. He looked so vulnerable, so frail in that moment. My companion could not seem to leave his side. He felt almost obligated to stay there. Hours later, a lady showed up. This is where it all went wrong. There is still time for me to stop if you wish. You really are intrigued in this story. But alas, I shall continue. She arrived with nothing more than a briefcase. She seemingly had such a fair hand, ensuring that she was oh so gentle with the king. She opened up her briefcase and a whole concoction of potions were there. As my companion peered over them, there was one particular one that caught their eye. Vampire venom. A blessing in disguise, if you know how to use it. However, in most cases, it is a deadly weapon. He knew not why she was carrying it, however, his suspicions of her were to be correct. She peeled the label off as she took it out and held it with such an innocent-looking smile. He tried so hard to warn the king of his distrust in her. He took it as madness and dismissed him, asking him to stand down and allow her to work. He was shocked, to say the least, but obliged and stood to the side as she began to spoke as to how this was a new type of potion that she had concocted herself and was proven to cure even the most hopeless of people. Well, you see, Dweller, the king did not seem to see through her deceitful lies, and just went along with it. She and him made eye contact as she opened it, and even though her lips gave words of hope, her pupils were empty, foul, They were the pupils of pure evil. There was not one good intent in her actions, as the king asked my companion to pick up a nearby goblet for the potion to be poured into. He knew this was wrong, but there was not much that he could do. He brought the goblet back. A sudden idea brewed over him. It was mad, but it was the only way he knew to save the king from his demise. He offered to hold the goblet as she poured. Once poured, he walked back over to the king, but did not give him the goblet. Instead, he called the potion poison and warned the king that she was trying to kill him. And when he disagreed and said that he had completely lost his mind, he backed away and, well, he drank it. A sacrifice to save the one he cared for the most. The king in his confusion wobbled as he stood, ready to reprimand my companion. However, it seemed it was too late for him, as he began to groan in agony and collapse to the ground, coughing, as if his lungs had the air torn straight from them. He even claimed he saw the deity Freedom herself in his final moments. The king panicked, dropping down and cradling my companion in his arms, not knowing what to do. The lady made a run for it, and men ran after her. The king's eyes welled up with tears as he asked why he would do such a thing. To which, within his final breath, my companion replied, "Some people are worth sacrificing for." That was the end. Or so he thought. Yes, human, you heard me correctly. The next time he awoke, he said he saw colour. As he sat up, he heard gasps filling the room he was in. He did not recognize where he was, until things started to come back into vision. This was his funeral. As their eyes met once more, the king himself wiped a tear from his eye and ran in for an embrace. However, something was off. When he embraced the king, he felt nothing. Nothing like he had felt before. It was like all emotion had been torn away from him. As the king spoke sweet nothings to him, he listened with great intent until, well, a sudden urge overruled him. One emotion, one feeling. Thirst. Like he'd been deprived for days on end without water. But it was not water he sought after. The smell of the king had filled his senses. It was almost a blur. One moment he was listening to the king's reliefs. The next he could not control how much blood he took. He could not seem to tear himself away as he tore at his collar, tearing through the ribbon that held a gem. To him, it was bliss running through his body, but at a dire cost. Once he was finally able to tear himself away, the king's legs gave out beneath him as he fell to the ground. My companion dropped with him, cradling close just as he had done before. Though he could feel no emotions, tears seemed to run down his cheeks, meeting with the king's as they fell onto him. The king cupped my companion's cheek as he apologized again and again "It's okay," he whispered, as my companion disagreed, saying that he did not know how he would save him this time. The king shook his head, pulling the two's faces ever so close. My companion was scared. He did not wish to be alone. The king told him that he would never be alone. He would only be a stargaze away. One final sentence began to leave his lips, the sentence my companion had been dreaming he would say since the day they had first met. But he would never hear the ending to it. As the king's hand slipped away from his cheek and hit the ground, he panicked. He started shaking the king, begging for him to come back. He thought he would come back, just like he had. But he had taken too much blood. There was not enough left for him to turn. The crowds raged, calling him a menace, a murderer, a monster. He cried out to them, pleading and begging for their forgiveness. But it was too late. Their minds were already made up. And so they chased him out of the kingdom, threatening that if he were to return or show his face to another human again, he would face the ultimate penalty: death. There are days where he still misses his soulmate, his light in total darkness, his companion. So you figured it out? Yes. I was the companion. King Terence. I murdered him. I'm sorry, Dweller, please. Just give me a moment. What are you... You forgive me? Oh, Dweller. You've given me more comfort than I have felt in the 175 years that I have had to live in this empty shell. Please, allow me to compose myself once more. Okay. Would you allow me a moment of fresh air? Thank you. Oh, Terence. I miss you so. Though I see the sky of stars wrapping me in a blanket of your presence, I'm still ever so alone without you. Please. I need you. Oh, Terence. What am I to do? I long for your hands, your touch, your love. Good night, my love. May our hearts find each other in another life.